Okay, we're set up. Start streaming. We're got down in the delay here, coming down. I'd like to thank you all for joining us here again with the Banjocast. Oh, sorry, pitchforks and flaming torches. I've got some media queued up, ready to go from Hard Bastard, which I think's worth watching. Just gonna make sure first before we do. Oh yeah, we've gone live. I think my frame rates and throughput should be just fine for this, so we're gonna go ahead and load these. It's from the Hard News Network here, or at least how he brands his stuff.
So every day, pretty much, there's censorship articles, callings for censorship on the internet, and this is no different. But what's actually, this is different. What's interesting about this is
all the time.
whether it's this article nice or perhaps depending on who you follow on Twitter, you may have noticed that there are people on the other side, on the left, that are having their Twitter accounts censored and suspended, and they don't like that very much. I think they thought, I mean, this was the thing I warned about from day one. They thought that they were just going to live in a society where only they had free speech and their political opponents would be censored, and they would be happy with that. That never lasts. That's not how any of this works. Once you give a group like Twitter or YouTube the power to censor one side politically, eventually they're going to censor your side. That's how it works. Now the precedent has been set on Twitter. And so this is pretty fucking hilarious. Business Insider. Let's really quickly do a super chat. Trump and Putin colluded to open the tentacles tab.
You know who went into. Mr. Sargon of Akkad fires the first shot.
Chat. Yes, I do believe it was a Russian conspiracy. Putin is a fan of tentacle porn, from what I understand. I'm just fucking around. I have no idea. Back to this. Twitter has gone from bastion of free speech to global censor. Alphonse Lopez Tena was a member of the Caitlin, I don't know if that's correct, Parliament from 2010 to 2012, specializing in clean governance and Caitlin independence issues. Caitlin, let's say Caitlin. He gave us permission to run this op-ed. On June 17th at around 10 a.m., the Twitter account of Al Jazeera's Arabic channel, a verified account with more than 11 million followers, was suspended due to an organized campaign. Engineers at Al Jazeera Arabic, who were in communication with Twitter, said there was a storm attack of mass reports of the account to Twitter. Oh, you don't like it when it's done to you. Oh. Tell us. How does that ass taste? Good, Which forced the algorithm to temporarily suspend the account, but Twitter did not immediately respond to a request for comments. It has been a high-profile case of an already well-established pattern. Twitter receives significant numbers of complaints. At the same time, a mass reporting of an account automatically closes it. You should fucking change that rule, Jack. Fucking dumbass. No warnings, no checks, no customer guarantees whatsoever. That's fucking ridiculous, by the way. In February 2017, Twitter stated, "We're continuing to work on ways to give people more control of what they see on Twitter. Last week, we introduced an improvement to reporting, an improvement according to you, to reporting abusive tweets that gives people experiencing targeted harassment more ways to report it. Any organized group can now make Twitter work for them, censoring the people they target to make it label their tweets as sensitive or potentially offensive. To delete all of them, to hide, suspend, and close the accounts that they may see fit. It's enough to launch an organized attack to denounce the targeted accounts as sensitive, offensive,
he doesn't edit himself.
Twitter will obligingly censor it." Well, why don't you now... Why doesn't everyone join in petitioning Twitter to drop all of this bullshit and let us have free speech and fire Jack Dorsey. How is Jack Dorsey still fucking there? I have no idea. He's destroyed this company. Owing to the secrecy surrounding Twitter's criteria and algorithms, the nomic value published rule is so loosely worded that allow to punish anybody at any time for anything. The lack of any procedure for punished people to defend themselves, and the automated response Twitter gives of quote, violating the rules without any explanation about which concrete rule has allegedly been violated. When and how, Twitter's become a paradise of bureaucratic censorship, a mix of Kafka's The Process and Orwell's 1984 and the Chinese Communist Party can only dream of. Any opinions an organized group want to erase are labeled hate speech, harassment, or abuse, and such thought crimes are purged from existence alongside their authors. This is what you wanted. This is what you wanted, and now you got it. Now you got it. So why don't we now end it? The experiment's over. Censorship never works. Let us have our rights that we are owed. We are owed freedom of speech. I know, oh, Twitter is a private company. They can do what they want. Fuck all that. They need to be regulated. And it should be illegal for them to censor anybody.
They need to be regulated.
It's un-American. I don't give a fuck about the private business argument. Fuck off. Too many people use it. It's like a fucking utility now. Anyway, back to this. 3 cases. Alexandra Brodsky, an activist and research fellow at the National Women's Center of Yale Law School. Are you going to tell me that they had the audacity to censor a woman? Oh, Jack. She was first harassed for being Jewish, and then her account was suspended in January for allegedly breaching the rules, only to recover it after a lot of people directly lodged a complaint to Twitter's CEO, cuck-in-chief Jack Dorsey, and the press highlighted the case. A large amount of public outcry was needed. Malalio Sinaja, a prominent pro-independence opponent to Catalonia's government with more than 130,000 followers, had his account suspended last March, and no amount of followers, protests, or press reports have been able to lift it. When a foreigner is censored, Twitter doesn't care at all. An anonymous Twitter account strongly replies, "The American Nazi Party," and gets suspended, prompting Jamal Bowie to tweet, "Love that Twitter has committed to making the internet safe for actual Nazis." Yeah. Mr. Bowie, fuck off. This is what you wanted. Now you're getting a taste of the ass. Authoritarian leading governments have quickly learned how to trample free speech on Twitter. So what you're telling me is this is all backfiring. Oh, it's just a shame there weren't a lot of people speaking out against why it was a bad idea. You didn't listen. Now this is what happens. Sanana DeHume wrote in the Wall Street Journal, the BJP also appears to at least tacitly encourage social media lynch mobs that go after any journalist seen to be stepping out of line. No other major political party appoints trolls to responsible positions, but usually those officials act secretly. An egregious exemption has been Joan Maria Piquet, a foreign communications head of Catalonia's government, who last February boasted on Twitter of getting accounts suspended by denouncing them for, quote, abusive behavior, bragging thus, "Go on doing as you do, donkeys." How similar? You take a person in a government who is getting accounts suspended for abusive behavior. How similar is her speech as CNN's talking against the people? You fucking jackass SJWs, did you really think the government wasn't going to take control of this and figure a way to stop everyone's speech? You fucking idiots. Fuckers. Absolute idiots. As Sarah Kendazor says, those are the optics of an autocrat. Blatant demonstrations of power that proclaim, "We know that you know what we did and there's nothing you can do about it." CNN, Reddit meme, there you go. Twitter once called itself the free speech wing of the free speech party, but now it says making Twitter a safer place is our primary focus. A safe place for whom? It censors sectarians and thugs who are served by simply rolling out Twitter's new tool for oppression. The people who were calling on Twitter
The people united
to do something about the trolls are now calling it a new tool for oppression. Suspending users without warning or recourse and without any visibility into how those decisions are being made or challenge them, and no meaningful recovery mechanism. These are all valid points. I agree with you. But again, I didn't ask for this. I've been free speech absolutely no matter what from day one. Authoritarian-leaning governments worldwide have swiftly noticed that Twitter tools enable their sponsored thugs, humans, and bots alike to get any criticism they dislike simply wiped from existence. All people posting any comments critical of an elected official risks being suspended from Twitter and banned outright with all their posts deleted. Being now so easy to force Twitter to eliminate critical speech with its own production, the deployed tool that gives governments and organized groups the right to criminalize speech and to shut out criticism they find uncomfortable. An organized massive attack of denouncers is all they need. Oh, I thought Twitter was a private company and they could do what they want. Oh, when all of the leverage is not on your side, then you change your mind. Even though all of you SJWs are bitches, and you're bitches for this, guess what? I'm on your side when it comes to changing this, if you obviously agree that we also get free speech. If you don't agree with that and you just want it for yourself, then you can fuck off. We either all have it or none of us have it. If you are unwilling to leave Twitter altogether or to by the way, lefties, I have a wonderful app that I would like to suggest to you. You're going to love it. It's called Gab. Gab doesn't censor anyone. You can go on there. You can say whatever the fuck you want. Go to Gab. If you're unwilling to leave Twitter altogether or to self-censor to avoid being denounced and wiped out, there are some measures you can take to protect your account. Block anybody at the slightest sign of being a sectarian that hates what you say. Don't engage in any conversation with those people. A potential denouncer is just giving you rope to better hang you, motivating their like-minded sectarians to mass denounce you to Twitter. Get your followers from as much countries as you can. Diversify the issues you post about. Therefore, you would-be denouncers won't ever be so many as successfully close your account. Nevertheless, if Al Jazeera has been closed, nobody is safe. If your account is suspended or closed, read carefully Pruneyard Shopping Center versus Robbins. The 1980 U.S. Supreme Court ruling, especially the opinions from Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Kagan, and Alito, and consider suing Twitter. A continuous, arbitrary, censorious pattern bodes, finding itself in court sooner or later and badly losing. Oh my God, is the left calling for a court case to defend free speech? This has come full circle, ladies and gentlemen. The systematic violation by Twitter of the principles of due process and no crime, no penalty without previous written, definite, strict law will not prevail. Anyway, becoming a tool for arbitrary censorship comes at a price. There is a need for a free... This is amazing. There is a need for a free, open, neutral platform that Twitter increasingly fails to deliver. Hence, the creative destruction of capitalism will likely promote other companies up to the task. I hope so. I hope so. Sinking Twitter into the irrelevance of being a tool for Trump rants, sectarian censorship, and cute cat pics only. I agree. Hopefully, it'll be Minds and Gab. Minds and Gab are the only two sites that, from what I understand, based on listening to them speak, the owners are pro-free speech. VidMe, I have no faith whatsoever in. I have not heard of any sort of egregious deletions from VidMe, but perhaps there have been. But I don't view them as legit. But Minds and Gab, and hopefully things happen to get these sites bigger. That's the problem. There's not
see that happen
enough people on Minds and Gab.
Open Broadcaster Studio.
Hopefully that changes in the future.
Entirely free. And this guy is awesome too. We're getting ready for the next one, which is this video. Oh, look. From a Wasserman Schultz aide, hey? Is she still alive? Ooh. Inside joke, inside joke. Oh, you can see my fingers now.
Here's another story you're just not going to get on MSNBC or CNN.
The bleed don't look terrible.
FBI seized smashed hard drives from Wasserman Schultz IT's aide's home. Oh, you should. I'm not going to say you're going down, Debbie. It's you should be going down, Debbie. She should be going down. Here we go. FBI agents seized smashed computer hard drives from the home of Florida Democrat Representative Debbie Wasserman Dragonface and her Information Technology Administrator, according to two sources with knowledge of the investigation. Pakistani-born Imran Awan, longtime right-hand IT aide to the former Democratic National Committee chairwoman, has since desperately tried to get the hard drives back. An individual whom FBI investigators interviewed in the case told the Daily Caller News Foundation's investigative group. An additional source in Congress with direct knowledge of the case, speaking on the condition of anonymity because of the sensitivity of the probe, confirmed that the FBI has joined what Politico previously described as a Capitol Police criminal probe into serious, potentially illegal violations on the House IT network by Imran and 3 of his relatives who had access to the emails and files of the more than 24 House Democrats who employed them on a part-time basis. Capitol Police have also seized computer equipment tied to the Florida lawmaker. Awan's younger brothers, Abid and Jamal, his wife, Haina Alvi, and Rayo Sabaz, Imran's best friend, are also under investigation. There have been no arrests in the case. There is also evidence of financial schemes that extend beyond the Capitol Police purview and may expand to Pakistan, where Imran spends significant portions of the year. Speaker of the House Paul Ryan said in March that the Capitol Police are getting the kind of technical assistance they need to do that. This is under an active criminal investigation. Their capabilities are pretty strong, but they're also able to go and get the kind of help they need from other sources. The brother's stepmother independently filed court documents in Virginia accusing the brothers of wiretapping and extorting her. Soon after Imran began working for Wasserman Dragonface in 2005, his 2 brothers and 2 of their wives, plus Abbas and another friend, began appearing as IT staffers on the payrolls of other House Democrats. Collectively, the Awan Group has been paid $4 million since 2009.
Wow.
Fellow IT staffers,
so they're not Russian anyway,
said the Awans were often absent from weekly meetings and email exchanges. One of the fellow staffers said some of the computers the Awans managed were being used to transfer data to an off-site server. Shortly after the criminal probe was revealed in February, Imran abruptly moved out of his longtime home on Hawkshead Drive in Lorton, Virginia, and listed it for rent on a website that connects landlords with military families. One of the new tenants, a Marine Corps veteran married to a female Navy officer, said he found wireless routers, hard drives that looked like they tried to destroy laptops, and a lot of brand new expensive toner. The tenants called the National Criminal Investigative Service not long after FBI agents arrived together with the Capitol Police to interview them and confiscate their equipment. The Marine spoke on a condition of anonymity because of concerns of his wife's naval career, saying she doesn't want to be associated with a national security incident. It was in the garage. They recycled cabinets and lined them along the walls. They left in a huge hurry, the Marine said. It looks like the government issued equipment. We turned that stuff over. Wasserman Schultz resigned as DNC chief in July 2016 after the committee's IT system was hacked. She has since refused to fire Imran despite learning that he is a target of a criminal investigation. The Marine said Imran wanted the hard drives back so desperately that he threatened to sue the renter for stealing them. It was unbelievable. I don't know where they got off thinking they're going to sue us for items we have no obligation to hold on to, he said. Imran came to the house for the items 3 to 4 times, but the Marine wouldn't let him enter. The lawyer contacted us today via email and said we owed $350 in late charges and the items he left in the house, the Marine said. The Marine heard about the house investigation on the radio, and by the time he had noticed other bizarre signs of desperation from his landlord. When we first moved in, a mailman came with a certified mail from the House of Representatives. We were trying to be nice and sign for it. They lost their shit, saying, "Why did you sign for it? This is illegal." It was certified from the chief administrative officer of the House. He said, "Oh, totally, nothing to see here. Maybe there was just some really good porn on that hard drive, and that's why he was so determined to get it." The postman came a second time with a certified letter, and I called Imran on the spot asking, "What do you want me to do?" He said, "Just send him away. I'm homeless." That's what the siren should sound like. They refused to forward their mail. Imran's brother Abid had also been evasive about his location, failing to provide an accurate address for delivery of court materials in a lawsuit in which he is accused of defrauding the brother's stepmother. Imran's wife, Haina, has traveled to Pakistan since the probe was revealed, according to neighbors. Washerman Dragonface has demanded a return of a laptop seized by the Capitol Police because it purportedly was used by Imran and was found hidden in a vacant office. The Florida Democrat used a Capitol Police budget hearing to threaten consequences for them if the laptop wasn't returned. On Thursday, it was reported that police have not examined its contents because of the invocation of the Constitution's speech and debate clause, and after months of refusal, her lawyer is now negotiating access to the data on yet-to-be-determined terms. Members have been unusually mum about the apparent cybersecurity breach, especially given the pattern of cyber attacks on other government and political institutions. The Marine expressed disgust with the muted reaction, saying, "I served in the Marine Corps for 14 years. If I downloaded files to an off-site server, I'm going to prison for a lot of years." He implied he's a Democrat, but said when it comes to national security, political ideology doesn't matter. He believes there's no way they could get this far without help from some of the Democratic members of Congress for whom the brothers worked. Other Democrats have ignored a major security breach because it could look like a black eye in that they failed to vet the Pakistanis, he said. He's dangerous. This is a crime syndicate that has successfully infiltrated Congress, he said. If Donald Trump and the Republicans had hired foreign nationals to be their top IT guys, and somehow their congressional files had been compromised, this would have been all over the news, he continued. A bureau spokesman said the FBI does not have anything to provide on this, and I will have to refer you to the Capitol Police for comment. Isn't that fucking fantastic? So, day by day, it does look like some shit may actually come out of this, and it's possible. Maybe Debbie will go down. She should go down.
Why won't Debbie go down? Debbie's right here, but that's not the same Debbie. Two different Debbies. I'm watching a bunch. Sure, the Banjocast is showing at the top here. You know what I forgot to do was to get the video link in the last one here. Let me do that. So I've got us all linked. So here we go. I'm gonna look for my history. We're gonna get one more video queued. Here it is. First video of the bump from the day. Saving this one to last because it is the one I probably care about the most as well.
This is not good news. I have made very clear of my dislike of Jeff Sessions. I don't like Jeff Sessions. It is not looking good. The marijuana thing is not looking good. And what's interesting is this really forces me to be consistent because I don't like Sessions. I want Sessions out. And as you know, there is this latest fake news story about Jeff Sessions' conversations with Kislyak. And you know, you think to yourself, you're like, oh, maybe this could lead to Jeff Sessions being gone, because I want Jeff Sessions gone. But then you look into it and you research it and you realize, well, this is still bullshit. It all goes back to the line of questioning that the Saturday Night Live wannabe congressman asked him, and the answers, and we'll get into that later. So it's like, I want him gone, but that meeting with Kislyak is not a reason to do so, even though I would love it to be, but it isn't. But anyway, regardless, this is the bad news here. Trump's DOJ gears up for crackdown on marijuana. I know there is a contingent of people that doesn't believe Trump is going to do anything on marijuana, and I hope you are right. I hope you are right. I really fucking hope. The Trump administration is readying for a crackdown on marijuana users under Attorney General Jeff Sessions. President Trump's task force on crime reduction and public safety, led by Sessions, is expected to release a report next week that criminal justice reform advocates fear will link marijuana to violent crime and recommend tougher sentences for those caught growing, selling, and smoking the plant. Sessions sent a memo in April updating the U.S. Attorney's Office and Department of Justice component heads on the work of the task force, which he said would be accomplished through various subcommittees. In the memo, Sessions said he had asked for initial recommendations no later than July 27th. Task force subcommittees will also undertake a review of existing policies in the area of charging, sentencing, and marijuana to ensure consistency with the department's overall strategy on reducing violent crime and with the administration goals and priorities, he wrote. Criminal justice reform advocates fear Sessions' memo signals stricter enforcement is ahead. The task force revolves around reducing violent crime, and Sessions and other DOJ officials have been out there over the last month and explicitly the last couple of weeks talking about how immigration and marijuana increase violent crime, said the director of Brennan Center Justice Program. We're worried there's going to be something in the recommendations that's either saying that it's true or recommending action be taken based on it being true. Sessions sent a letter in May asking congressional leaders to do away with an amendment to the DOJ budget prohibiting the agency from using federal funds to prevent states from implementing their own state laws that authorize the use, distribution, possession, or cultivation of medical marijuana. These are solid reasons for people to be concerned. It seems like he is actively getting it together to go after legal weed. I don't know what other reason would he do this. I believe it would be unwise for Congress to restrict the discretion of the department to fund prosecutions, particularly in the midst of a historic drug epidemic, which is so funny because marijuana is now it doesn't work for everybody, but it is a absolutely legitimate way some people have found to get off opiates. Also, Crantum, or however
a legitimate way to get off of opiates. Now, you're going to have to forgive me for 1 second here. I will be right back, but I must return in a second. Okay. I'm back. What we got here in the back of this book that I'm going to read from is a little letter. It's a little letter from, William S. Burroughs to us, the products of the 20th century or later. Here is what William S. Burroughs says about mixing heroin/opium with marijuana. Cannabis indica, hashish marijuana. The effects of this drug have been frequently and luridly described: disturbances of space-time perception, acute sensitivity to impressions, flights of ideas, laughing jags, silliness. Marijuana is a sensitizer, and the results are not always pleasant. It makes a bad situation worse. Pay particular attention to that. It makes a bad situation worse. Depression becomes despair, anxiety, panic. I've already mentioned my horrible experience with marijuana during acute morphine withdrawal. I once gave marijuana to a guest who was mildly anxious about something. On bum kicks, he put it. After smoking half a cigarette, he suddenly leapt to his feet, screaming, "I got the fear!" and rushed out of the house. An especially unnerving feature of marijuana intoxication is a disturbance of the affective orientation. You do not know whether you like something or not, whether a sensation is pleasant or unpleasant. The use of marijuana varies greatly with the individual. Some smoke it constantly, some occasionally. Not a few dislike it intensely. It seems to be especially unpopular with confirmed morphine addicts, many of whom take a puritanical view of marijuana smoking. The ill effects of marijuana have been grossly exaggerated in the United States. I'm not in the United States, but I'm reading on behalf of Miss Burroughs. Our national drug is alcohol. We tend to regard the use of any other drug with special horror. Anyone given over to these alien vices deserves the complete ruin of his mind and body. People believe what they want to believe without regard for the facts. Marijuana is not habit forming. I've never seen evidence of any ill effect from moderate use. Drug psychosis may result from prolonged and excessive use, but I draw attention to the very early part. I've already mentioned my horrible experience with marijuana during acute morphine withdrawal, because he talks about withdrawal from morphine exclusively in the first part of the same essay here. So he talks about ways that you could try to get a cure from. Let me see. The phenomenon of morphine addiction is well known. There's no reason to go over them here. A few points seems to me have been received insufficient attention. The metabolic incompatibility between morphine and alcohol has been observed, but no one, so far as I know, has advanced an explanation for it. If a morphine addict drinks alcohol, he experiences no agreeable or euphoric sensations. There is a feeling of slowly mounted discomfort and the need for another injection. Alcohol seems to be short-circuited, perhaps by the liver. Once attempted to drink in a state of incomplete recovery from an attack of jaundice. I was not using morphine at the time. Metabolic sensation was identical. In one case, the liver was partly out of action from jaundice, the other preoccupied literally by a morphine metabolism. In either case, could it metabolize alcohol? If an alcoholic becomes addicted to morphine, invariably and completely displaces alcohol. I have known several alcoholics who began using morphine. They were able to tolerate large doses of morphine immediately, 1 grain to a shot, without ill effect, and in a matter of days stopped taking alcohol. The reverse never occurs. Morphine addict cannot tolerate alcohol when he's using morphine or suffering from morphine withdrawal. I wonder how many alcoholics turn to morphine as a cure. It's a horrible cure, because it's no cure at all. The ability to tolerate alcohol is a sure sign of disintoxication from morphine. Consequence, alcohol can never be substituted for morphine directly. Of course, a disintoxicated addict may start drinking and become an alcoholic. During withdrawal, the addict is acutely aware of his surroundings. Sense impressions are sharpened to the point of hallucination. Familiar objects seem to stir with a writhing, furtive life. The addict, subject to a barrage of sensations, external and visceral, may experience flashes of beauty and nostalgia, but the overall impression is extremely painful. Perhaps his sensations are painful because of their intensity. A pleasurable sensation may become intolerable after a certain intensity is reached. I have noticed 2 special reactions to early withdrawal. Everything looks threatening, 1, and 2, mild paranoia. Doctors and nurses appear as monsters of evil. In the course of several cures, I felt myself surrounded by dangerous lunatics. I've talked to one of Dr. Dent's patients who's just undergone disintoxication for a pethidine habit. He reported an identical experience, told me that for 24 hours the nurses and the doctor seemed brutal and repugnant. And everything looked blue. I've talked with other addicts who experienced the same reactions. I'm just looking around and see if he talked about looking for his other mention of oh yeah. Cannabis indica marijuana in late or light withdrawal. Late or light withdrawal. It relieves depression and increases the appetite. In acute withdrawal, it is an unmitigated disaster. So it's meant to be used in late withdrawal, not from the get-go. In acute withdrawal, immediately after coming off the drugs, it's an unmitigated disaster. One smoked marijuana during early withdrawal with nightmarish results. Reason, if you're already having hallucinations, the marijuana will intensify it. It makes you more sensitive to the hallucination effect. It's not good. Cannabis is a sensitizer. If you feel bad already, it will make you feel worse. It's contraindicated. Indicated, right? Indicated. So cannabis indica, not sativa. Right? That's what I got wrote in my own margins here. I'm reading from Naked Lunch, by the way, a copy of Naked Lunch. And if you're looking for the exact, reference, in the back of this version that I have here, it's reprinted from the British Journal of Addiction, Volume 53, Number 2, a letter from a master addict to dangerous drugs, dated August 3rd, 1956, and in Venice, signed William Burroughs. Anyhow, contraindicated for early or acute withdrawal. Hard bastard.
Fuck you, pronounce that shit. Is another one. Now, what was wild about Cranham is it looked like it was over, and it turned out that they kept it legal. I mean, I forget where they left it. They were going to make it a Schedule 1, and then they just dropped it. I do think they dropped it for another day, but at least now it seems like people can still use it, and it seems very safe. And the amount of deaths over it are small compared to anything else, alcohol, heroin, what have you. And usually when there is a death associated with it, it is mixed with another drug. As for the task force, Sesson said another subcommittee would explore our use of asset forfeiture and make recommendations on any improvements needed to legal authorities, policies, and training to most effectively attack the financial infrastructure of criminal organizations. It's not hard to see how Sessions in his mind could point to a legal marijuana grower, a legal marijuana operation in Colorado, and say, well, that's a criminal organization. We're going to take all of your shit. On Wednesday, Sessions reportedly reestablished a controversial criminal asset seizure program ahead of the committee's recommendations. Local law enforcement leaders say a crackdown appears to be next, though they argue there's no need for it. From a practitioner's point of view, marijuana is not a drug that doesn't have some danger to it, but it's not a drug that's driving violent crime in America, said Rona Surpres, the former superintendent of New Orleans Police Department and co-chairman of law enforcement leaders to reduce crime and incarceration. That's not the drug with which we see so much death and destruction on the streets of America.
For it to be
crack and powder cocaine, heroin, and opiates are where we're seeing people die on the street corners, fighting over territory or control.
One little break
8
is worth
states
10
in the District
times
of Columbia
size,
have legalized the
100 times the
recreational
size
use
in
of marijuana.
marijuana.
And another 21 states allow the use of medical marijuana, according to the Marijuana Policy Project. But marijuana use is still illegal under federal law. If Sessions ignites a fight over states' rights, Chedier wonders whether it will spur Republicans into a showdown with the Trump administration on criminal justice reform. Rand Paul, who publicly criticized Sessions for reversing Obama-era guidelines on criminal charges and sentencing in May, said he's not in favor of the DOJ interfering with the state's policies regarding marijuana. I will oppose anybody from the administration or otherwise that wants to interfere with state policy, he told The Hill this week. Paul is part of the bipartisan group of senators pushing legislation to allow patients to continue accessing medical marijuana in states where it's legal without fear of federal prosecution. Legislation introduced last month by Kristen Gillibrand, Cory Booker, Lisa Murkowski, Al Franken, Mike Lee, and Paul introduced, known as the Compassionate Access, Research Expansion, and Respect States Carers Act, would amend federal law to allow states to set their own medical marijuana policies. According to PolitiFact, Trump pledged to leave marijuana legalization up to the states while on the campaign trail. But last month, he reportedly pushed back against the congressional ban on the DOJ interfering with the state medical marijuana laws in a signing statement asserting that he isn't legally bound to the limits imposed by Congress. Not cool. Not cool. The DOJ's likely move on marijuana comes amid rising tensions between Trump and Sessions. Trump, in an interview with the New York Times, publicly dressed down Sessions.
This is an interesting point where the two of them don't coincide with one another.
That decision very unfair to him. Yeah, it was a bit of a bitch move. I mean, I would argue that he shouldn't have recused himself because the media took Al Franken's question and Jeff Sessions' answer out of context. Was he forced to resign? Did he commit perjury? No, of course he didn't. So I wouldn't have recused myself. That was a mistake. If Trump wants to get rid of him over that, I'd have no problem with that. Now, I would say it's because I want him gone because of the weed thing, but that's at least like you can defend that. The talking with Kislyak shit, there's nothing illegal about that. But again, we'll get into it. The president initially bonded with Sessions because he saw him as a tough guy, he said in an interview with the New York Times. Now he's saying, where's my tough guy? Why doesn't he have my back? There's a lack of aggressiveness with Sessions, unless it involves chasing people for smoking pot. James Frawley, 420, fire up one for Sesh. You know what's funny? The guy who is the head of the DOJ, the guy that's going after weed, his last name is Sessions.
Sessions, true.
Because usually back in the day, when we used to get together and smoke weed, we would call it a session. That's interesting. Jeff Sessions, that's funny. In an interview with The Hill, Booker called Sessions one of the greatest threats to the safety of our local communities in America. Now you're getting a little ridiculous, Cory. If you try to start prosecuting marijuana, you create more violence and more danger as well as greater government cost, he said. That's true, but as far as the greatest threat, stop it. These policies that he's doing ultimately go to the core of the safety of our communities. Though Sessions appears to be an obstacle for lawmakers and advocates who want sentencing reform, Booker said he's not insurmountable. If we can, again, see, here we go. If we can overcome Strom Thurmond's filibuster against civil rights. Fucking Cory Booker. Why don't you just say, the Jews, they overcame Hitler, so we can overcome Jeff Sessions. Oh, Democrats never pass up an opportunity to take whoever they have a political disagreement against and just maximize the virtue signaling. Oh my God. Oh my God. And I'm on your side on this, dude, but Jesus Christ, shut the fuck up with this bullshit. It's bad policy. It costs money. It's unreasonable. It's completely unscientific. Those are plenty of things that you can go on. Okay. And yes, if you want to talk about policing and like broken windows, fine. But come on, man, Strom Thurmond, stop. But Sessions isn't alone in his views on pot. Though he said he believes in the need for sentencing reform. Well, that's good. I hope he does it. Senator Lindsey Graham, of course, seemed to agree this week that there needs to be stricter enforcement. I believe marijuana probably needs to be... real good way to take a position, Lindsey. I believe marijuana probably needs to be cracked down on, but we'll see when he sends it over. Oh, you motherfuckers gotta leave weed alone. Leave it alone. It's not, like, I see, my back is fucked up. It's always been fucked up. I don't complain about that shit. I just deal with it. However, if I had access to one of these wonderful cafes, like in Colorado, where you can pick the strain, because the problem with marijuana in a place where it's not legal is you have no control usually over the strain and its effects on you. If I could have control over the strain, I think marijuana could be very effective, and I could stop with the fucking ibuprofen, because that shit is not good for your liver. Anyway, that's my personal reason for wanting marijuana to be legal. And if Trump doesn't run against a warmongering lunatic in 2020, this is going to fucking matter to me. But like I said, we're going to have to see who the Democrats bring out to run against Trump. Because if it's a warmonger, then obviously war is more important than weed, as much as I like weed.
And with that, I think I'm going to call it the stream for this evening. I'd like to thank you for watching, sticking with me here on Pitchforks and Flaming Torches. We're going to have some more banjo later on the week, and probably won't be seeing much of this thing either, but god damn, I like this thing. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you're interested in seeing more content like this, subscribe below, leave us a comment, or do whatever, and rock on.